So I've never really been a big fan of the LEGO games, but I'm going to try and be as unbiased as I physically can when it comes to this game. There was an awful lot of hype surrounding it, and that's either because, it's a LEGO game and that's obviously a massive deal, or it could be due to the constant setbacks that this game has had. Like, the original release date of the game was over 2 years ago, but due to the pandemic and a load of other bits, it just got delayed by such a long time. But it was finally released this year on the 4th of April. I'm sure by now everyone's aware of the new LEGO Star Wars game, but just in case you aren't, here's a little catch-up. So it's called the Skywalker Saga, and it's basically a compilation of all of the LEGO Star Wars games that have come before, just remastered and put all onto one platform, with the added benefit of the last 3 movies also being made into LEGO Star Wars games. So at the moment, the game is retailing for around £50 or $60 US, and considering this, you are essentially getting 9 different stories, I would say it's a pretty good deal. It's out on the PC, the Xbox, PlayStation, and the Nintendo Switch. All the footage that you'll see in this video is from the Nintendo Switch version, so be aware that the game will most likely look better on every other console. So if we're being completely honest, this is the first LEGO Star Wars game that I've actually played, like a considerable amount. So I'm not going to really be able to tell you all of the new things that they've added unless it's something that I've actually noticed, but I can tell you what I thought of them. And the first thing that I found was that this game was genuinely just hilarious. There's so many weird cutscenes and secrets in the game that just had me in stitches. Like, a personal highlight is in one of the first missions where you find a stormtrooper in a hot tub where the escape pods are supposed to be. It didn't really seem very Star Wars-y, but it really did make me laugh. The way that they've run this game is that they kind of give you the option to start at the beginning of each trilogy, so this is great because it means that you can decide in which order you want to play the game. Personally, I decided to start with the prequels because I have a weird love for Darth Maul, and he was the character that I was kind of the most excited to see. If you're a true Star Wars fan, then you can obviously play them all in release order if that's what you wanted, but it's just nice that they've given you the option on how to do it. But you only have the first episode of each trilogy unlocked, so you would have to complete each episode in order to unlock the next one, which works out great in the way of story progression. The first thing that I found about this game is that it's incredibly weird to see a LEGO game look like this. So even though I was playing it on the Nintendo Switch, which out of all the consoles that it is available on does have the worst visuals due to the hardware, the game looks great. The last LEGO game I played was LEGO Marvel Avengers, which was released at the start of 2016, and it seems to me that the franchise of the LEGO games has come a really long way. The lighting seems a ton better than in other LEGO games, and in a lot of areas in the game, you just get to explore, and it looks so beautiful considering it's an entire game designed out of LEGO. Like, when you destroy a droid, it almost seems to fall apart in the way an actual LEGO droid would, which is kind of sick. So the game is following the stories of the movies, but then it kind of adds in the charm and the goofiness that other LEGO games like to show, which is really nice because it kind of breaks up all of the seriousness from the original Star Wars stories and adds in a bunch of cheap humour. You can tell that a lot of the humour in the game is aimed at a younger audience, which is great. I think that this is a perfect title to introduce younger people into a franchise that's been going for nearly 50 years. But with that being said, I do think it's a great take on the Star Wars stories. A lot of the things in there either didn't make sense or just seem a bit off, and the dev team for this game seemed to just poke fun at it, which is a great attitude to have when recreating something that is as big of a franchise as Star Wars is. So, a few notable gameplay elements they seem to have changed is, well, the main one's probably the combat system. So for the Jedi, it didn't really seem all too different, like they've got their Force and their lightsabers, but the combat is still pretty fluid. They've added in like basic combos, counters, and even some like blocks and stuff, but the main thing that stood out to me was the mechanics for the shooting. So instead of having like a weird overhead camera, they've gone with more of a third person over the shoulder look. I think that this is a drastic improvement and does make the game feel a little bit more immersive. I do think that sometimes the camera angle is a little bit weird because you can't turn it around properly, but that might just be on the Switch, I'm unsure yet. They've also added some sort of interesting cover system, so you can kind of jump behind cover during big shootouts in the game. Like, it's kind of cool, because even when the cover gets destroyed, you can build it back. Normally this is something that I would think is a little bit annoying, but like, it's all made of Lego, so it makes sense that you can build it back, so it's kind of sick. Now, I played through a lot of this game with one of my friends, which you'll be able to see in a lot of the footage because we were playing split screen. So the split screen itself is both great and also kind of annoying. So in 2022, it seems really weird for a game to be co-op, but have absolutely no online capabilities whatsoever. It seems a little bit ridiculous. Like, the split screen does exactly how it sounds. It turns the screen into 2 vertical screens and each player has control of a character. This can get a little bit annoying during combat, as it does seem to get rid of a lot of the field of view you might have, so it's quite hard to like spin around and actually see the fight. A big point that I've noticed is that when you have some of like the significant boss fights that are supposed to be a single player experience, it means if you're in split screen, it's kind of pointless because one person is just standing on the edge of the battlefield looking in. But I have found that through playing a lot of split screen, it's made the single player experience a lot nicer to play because it's just more enjoyable being able to see more of what's around you. The limited field of view is probably the worst part of split screen, which is why I think that having the online capabilities to be able to play online co-op would be slightly better. But this game does feature over 400 playable characters, all from within the Star Wars universe. Some of these are really straightforward to unlock, whereas others you'll have to put in significant amounts of time in order to actually unlock them. So each player is locked down to a class, so although there are 400 characters, a lot of them will kind of just play the same, they just have different skins. So it's quite easy to feel the difference between like the different force wielding characters like the Sith and the Jedi. They do play similarly, they play kind of the same, but you can feel some differences there. There's also a skill tree in the game which is developed by using like these little chunks of change that you collect and also those weird blue bricks. I know in most of the old LEGO games the special bricks were the red ones, I think, but they've basically just been replaced with these new blue ones, which I guess is kind of cool. But the special bricks you kind of collect everywhere in the story. They could just be found in the open landscapes, or they can be obtained by doing little side quests. So there is a lot of stuff that you can do in this game, but the skills are essentially all class specific. And then there's a section for where you upgrade your core skills, which work on every single character. This is stuff like widening the scope of the little bit to change getting sucked into you, or like improving your sprint speed overall. Personally, I've never really been into the LEGO games, but I feel like this is a game that I'll actually be able to play through. So the main con that I found is just how simple the game is. Obviously, this is a game designed for children, so it's incredibly easy as far as combat and the puzzles go. But it is still incredibly immersive, and it's really nice to see how they're trying to tell the story in a slightly different and a more humorous way. I also find it really nice that at the moment the 2 games that I'm playing are this and Elden Ring, so it's a great way to have that dynamic between the extremely hard to a nice and more casual game. So if you're a fan of LEGO or Star Wars, I think that this game is 100% for you. It's very quirky, and from the last games it really does seem like a big jump forward. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more, and take it easy.